Good morning, Rabbi Isaac and Chodesh Elul. How's everybody doing? Oh, we have to straighten it out a little bit. There we go. Okay. I don't know how Eli Dykeman always gets to the top. Him and Noam. Is he some sort of a host or something? Rabbi Isaac Elul. Mendy Auerbach is on every day. I don't know if he's on in the beginning, but he's always on. And we learned in a shul here called Pnei Shmuel. There's over 100 kollel guys there. And there's a guy there from Hebron every year, every day, in the middle of Seder, he would just scream out, Elul! And the whole base measure would shake. Yeah, that's Eretz Yisrael for you. So, today's shiur is being sponsored by Adam Lombardo. Now, if you recall, this is what's so beautiful about all those videos. He made a video, now I know what we're talking about. On our 30th anniversary, B'layan Hara, and the merit of Ma'ash Chayil, in honor of her continued refuah from a long and difficult recovery from COVID-19, 5 months and counting. Wow. Rivka Liba Bas Chayis, all my learning should be in her and my family's zechus. Yisrael helper, and I know who he is, but he also made a video. I saw him, on there. Sponsoring the Daf, Thursday, the first day of Rosh Chodesh. It's Lamed, Menachem Av, Chodesh Elul. The 26th yard set of his father, Elchanan ben Ze'ev Doiv, should have an aliyah. The Shama should have an aliyah. And added him battle. Listen to this, Rabbi Isai. Another person that sent in a video. I don't know if he wants his last name to be known, because he didn't write his last name, so I'm not going to say it. What's that?
You're not using two mics?
No. Is this your first time on Zoom? With the new Zoom, since your camera was broken and on vacation? You don't like it? I'm gonna talk closer to the thing. Hi Rebelli, my name is Asher. So if you go back to all the videos, you can find who Asher is. I want to sponsor and he's a shtickle Hasidish, I think. I want to sponsor Lili Nishmas, your mother. That's my mother. So you don't forget it. So Lili Nishmas Rusbas Mordechai, Shkoyach, Rebasher. And my mother, Reza Bas Binyamin, she passed away when I was 14. Besides, I was adopted when I was 8. I have to tell you that I had no interest in Gemara because no one gave me the proper understanding, love, and education. You're coming from a place of true love to all your students. You're like a father figure to me. The way you express your shiur is incredible. There's way more things I want to share, but let's move forward in life. Like you say, it's about the daily. Make it a great day. May God bless you, and looking forward to sharing great moments with the full redemption. Amen. Yishakayach Reb Asher. Thank you. That's very considerate. Yishmak. Okay. Listen, there's very little I can mention. I'm in a taxi on vacation, so I got a email right away. What about my taxi service? And he's right. I always use Eli Shapiro as a. But I had explained to him. Somebody offered to take me, and then he sent in a guy. I can't even say taxi. I can't even say that Lili Nish is my mother, because before you know it, the guy is sponsoring my mother. One more short email. We are a little late today. Shalom Uvracha. This is from Adam Labato, the sponsor here, one of the sponsors. In addition to sponsoring today's shiur, first day of Rosh Chodesh, sponsorship message Tov. I Baruch Hashem still haven't missed a day since Brachas Daf Beis. Beautiful. I would actually like to see people miss a daf or two. Because when you have that perfection and you're going on perfection, so you're still riding perfection. I want to see miss one day and still continue after that. That's the trick. But anyways, it's a beautiful thing.
I think they're all following your lead.
So you want me to break it on purpose?
No.
Okay. Just don't follow me when I go on vacation. I don't show up a day, and then I come back after and nobody's here anymore. It's just me and you, Noam. All right. And that is due to the power combo of your fantastic, clear, engaging style of giving over the daf, the MDY chevra, and of course the need to fulfill the yomi. The Sima Sefta Shabbos was honestly one of the best yom I've ever been part of. The Simchas HaTorah in so many locations all over the world. You know, Eruvin Chait, you got to meet him also on that video, meet the team, Eruvin Chait. He was voted the most normal person in our shul. Him and Noam came in 1 and 2. Menachem Mata, I don't know what happened to him. He's also very normal. I was certainly not on that list. Who voted him? A bunch of Shugayim voted him. Who gets around and says, who's the most normal guy in the shul? Anyway, so Eruvin was telling me, he brought a very nice point. He said that while I got up to say Kaddish during the Siyum, he was looking on Zoom, and he couldn't believe it. That's when it hit him. He said, you can't imagine how many places around the world had minyanim going on saying their own Kaddish. I didn't get to see that, but he said, Belarus might have had 50 people in Belarus just saying, doing the siyum together. And then that's when it's really a siyum around the world that they are making the siyum together with us. Incredible. I don't know if you could capture that, like it's something on Zoom. Like he said he took a couple of pictures off the screen. I'd like to see that. Occasionally it was palpable, and even though we were only 3 in our little siyum in Edgware, London, we felt truly part of something far bigger, the MDY Mishpacha. Please keep doing what you're doing. Kol Tov, Adam Labato, Yishkoyach, Reb Adam, Yishkoyach to all the sponsors. Today, Rabbi Isai is Daf Yud Aleph. Unbelievable. We're 10 daf into Masechet Eruvin, approximately 10% of the Masechet already. No, is it really that difficult? I don't think so. It's technical. Come to think of it, I was like, where was the last time we saw a pasuk in this Masechta? You have to go back 5 daf to see a pasuk, to see a maisa. It's technical. It's another lechi, another kaira. I get it, but it's not like difficult. Wow, you can't chop what's going on here. We're holding 3 lines from the bottom, 4 lines. Lili nishma simim rosirus b'smordechai. Thank you, Asher. Im yesh li tzuras haPesach, av al pi shurochav me'eser, ein tzorich l'mayit. So the Mishnah tells us that if the opening of the mavui is more than 10 amos, so what you could do is you could make a tzuras haPesach. You put the shape of a door, a jam. How that works, it seems like from the Rishonim, it works more. It's not so much of a heker as much as of mechitza. Right? We had a whole discussion. What's a kair? What's a lechi? Is it a heker, mechitza? Tzuras haPesach seems like it's more of a mechitza. It creates a mechitza. You have a door, it's a mechitza. That's why they say, like we had the other day, if you have a kair on an angle, it doesn't work because there's no such heker. It is, yeah, it's not. But if you hold it to mechitza, then a tzuras haPesach could work on an angle as well. Ashkechon tzuras haPesach the mahanya berachboi. We see that tzuras haPesach could bridge the gap. If the mavoi is too wide, I could put a door frame in there and it works. Va'amaltera. What's an amaltera, boys? Anybody remember what an amaltera is? Very good. I see Eli showing me. I don't know how this Eli guy gets there every single day. Does he show up early or just has special privileges? But I get to see him a lot. Amaltra, if you remember, this is the Amaltra from Akiva Solway. So the Gemara is asking, this works. What about this? What about if the lechi, the horizontal post, the vertical I should say, vertical, and you put an amaltra on it? So what amaltra we said was more of the birds. It looks like a bunch of nests from birds. There was a picture in the Beis Hamikdash, not Beis. So something that's very, very visual. It's very noticeable. So could I take that amaltra idea from the height and bring it down to the side? If you have a very wide door, very wide opening, more than 10 amas, what if I use an amaltra? So could I use it tzuras haPesach as the Gemara? Ibchamai. Can I use it tzuras haPesach to take up the height, to take down from a very tall mavi, make it giant tzuras haPesach, something that's 23 amas tall, a door jam? Would that work? And can I put some flashing lights or something on the side of my mavi? Now, it's very interesting. Taj just points out, isn't every tzuras haPesach a lechi? What's going on here? A tzuras haPesach means you have 2 pieces of wood on the side and a crossbeam on top. So isn't that piece of wood on the side a lechi? So he says we must be talking about either it's a mavi mafulish, it's wide open on both sides of this mavi, or it's more than 10 amas wide. So that the lechi doesn't work in those cases, and now we're coming on to a tzuras haPesach. Now, just a riddle. Many of you might know the answer to this. I'm sure I'll see it flashing on the screen in a second. Which 2 Masechtas have essentially the same name? in Shas. Two Masechtas with the same name. Now we're learning Eruvin, so that's a giveaway. That's one of the two. What else means Eruvin? Says the Gemara, Toshma, the Sanya Movishu Gavoya Me'esrim Amo Yemayit. No. Ksuv is Gita now. The Sanya Movishu Gavoya Me'esrim Amo Yemayit. If you have a Movi that's more than 20 Amas, you should make it lower. And it says Mefurish in the Braisa. To answer our question, like there's no argument now. Vim yesh li tzuras haPesach, and it's tzorich l'mayit. A tzuras haPesach works to reduce the height. Amaltra barach boy mai. Okay, what about the second question? This, unfortunately, we don't have a good answer for. Can you put flashing lights or a depiction of bird's nests on the side of your mavui on the vertical beam? Does that work? Toshma desanya mavi shugavoy mesrim amu yimayit. V'arachum eser yimayit. If it's more than 10 amas, you should make it smaller. If it has a tzuras haPesach, it's enough. And if it has this amaltra that we're just discussing now, that's enough. You don't have to reduce. My lava seifa, isn't it going on the width? Loi areisha. We don't have a good pshat because we could always say that the amaltra that says that it works, you don't have to reduce, is talking about again the height which we discussed in the beginning of the Masechta. The height, we know amaltra works. We're still trying to figure out, can amaltra work for the width, to reduce the width? Says the Gemara, Masni le Rav Yehuda lechir bar Rav. Now, you should remember this, Rabbi Isaac, because it's only about a week and a half ago, the first daf in the Masechta, we had this exact line, that Rav Yehuda was the tutor of Rav's son, Chia. So he's teaching him exactly what it says in the Mishnah. He didn't make a mistake. He's teaching him over the Mishnah like we have it printed in our Gemaras in Masechtas Eruvin, Daf Beis Amud Aleph. That what? That what? So he was telling him that at Tzuras HaPesach, if you have an opening with the Tzuras HaPesach, you don't have to reduce the height. Omar Lei, and over there he told Iris, not Einoi Tzarech L'mayit, but Tzarech L'mayit. Rav holds that Tzuras HaPesach doesn't work to reduce the height. So I could see from Rav, if you have a chotzer and it's full of, I heard a discussion before the shiur and I went on to Menachem Atez's shiur last night. For a minute, I didn't realize I was not muted. I was showing my chavrusa how he does the screen share, and he was using those beautiful pictures from Kol HaShon. I can't use it yet. I don't have permission. I need to get permission from everybody, all the people I use, including ArtScroll, and this is from a Sifta. So this is a Sifta picture. But Kol HaShon has one that's even better, in my opinion, than everybody else. It's very, very real looking. So you see all these blue boxes and red boxes. I try to highlight it a little bit more because it's a little dull. So I made them blue and red, like neon. But the bottom line is that these things are wide open. Wide open. So it's almost like it hardly has any walls. We're dealing with a true case of parat merubah la'aymed. You have more open ear space than actual walls. Everything's doors and doors. I forgot what they call it. Like some sort of, not a pergola, but like one of those outdoor room kind of thing. But everything is windows, and chalonis is not true glass windows. Openings, a bunch of openings. So I can learn, says Rav Yosef, from Rebbe, who says that Tzuras HaPesach doesn't work to be memayit. So over here in this room, parts merubah la'aymed, Tzuras HaPesach won't work. My timer. You see, because this picture has a bunch of Tzuras HaPesach. All these blue guys are Tzuras HaPesach. Doesn't work. Hoyel v'yosim ha'eser, oisim v'mavli. So, if you have more than 10 amas anywhere in the mavoi, a gap somewhere in the mavoi that's 10 amas, that ruins the whole mavoi. Uparot merubah la'aymed oisa b'chatzer. It's not just mavoi; it's anywhere. In a chatzer also 10 amas ruins it. Uparot merubah la'aymed oisa b'chatzer. Now, if you have more opening than closed area in a chatzer, it ruins it. So now he wants to say that these two things are similar in halacha. Now, why is it that a gap that's more than 10 amos ruins the mavui? Because now it's not a Pesach anymore. In a mavui, you need opening. Yeah, you need a door. You need a more than 10 amos is not a door. It's not a Pesach. It's not a play. It's way more. It's a terrible thing. It ruins the mavui. So Rav says that wider than 10, a tzursa pesach doesn't help. So basically, he decided, Rabbi Yosef, that they're the same halacha. Wider than 10 is not a pesach, and therefore tzursa pesach doesn't help. And parts merubah is also not a pesach. It's too open, and therefore tzursa pesach shouldn't work. Says the Gemara, but they're not similar. Why? You want to say, if you say it comes from the same logic, so then the same logic, just like a tzursa pesach doesn't work on one, it should work on the other. But they're not the same, says the Gemara. The reason why larger than a 10 amma gap, a tzursa pesach doesn't work, the Meir. Yesterday we were discussing Rabbi Yehuda, who says that between the yumdim, which by the way are 1 amma by 1 amma, over here it says 13 and a third. That was Rabbi Yehuda's shita. Rabbi Meir says it's a little narrow. It's 10 amma. Fine. So in Pasib Yirois, again, what's the case of Pasib Yirois? Klal Yisrael was coming up with all their animals for Aliyah L'Regel, and they needed to give their animals to drink. So they were matter. Even in Rosh Hashanah, all you need to do is a little diyumdim, 4 little diyumdim, little walls, and you could go and draw water and give it to your animal. So, in this case of Pasib Yirois, 10 amma, a little bit more than 10 amma is no good. This guy, it doesn't get any more than parts al over here. You have a tiny little wall here, 1 amma here, 1 amma here, and you have a 10 amma gap in between. So it's way more ear than salad. Yet this is 100% mutter. So mutter parts al also to do a 10 amma gap. So you see, they're not the same halacha. They come from different logics. It's a different halacha. So you can't compare one halacha to the other. A 10 amma gap is one halacha. Parts al is another halacha. Says the Gemara, maybe I can prove to you that when you have parts merubah, like in this case of a bunch of windows here, then tzursa pesach doesn't work. These walls, that most of the openings are doors and windows, mutter, it's okay. But you have to make sure that there's more wall than opening. Says the Gemara, you start off saying that most of the wall is open. It has door openings, and window openings. In other words, it's all ear. 90% of it is ear. And then you say, and by the way, make sure that 51% of it should be a wall. That makes no sense. You just said most of it is open, and then you say most of it should be closed. Says the Gemara, Ella, so you have to explain it a little bit differently. Not rubam psachim chalonos, not that 51% are windows, just he made many windows. It's a weird room. It's what's the name of the word, Rabbi Isai? The sunroom. Yeah, sunroom. There you go. I don't know if anybody said it, but that's what I was talking about. The sunroom, you have them in all the, like in Muncie, and a guy has in his backyard. He closes his port, tons of windows. Again, that's not exactly what we're talking about because that's glass, and glass is a good mechitza halachically. But we're talking about open windows, okay? A nice open pergola from all sides with a bunch of beams and stuff. So that's what we're talking about, but not that it's 51%, just a lot. You look at it and say, what is going on here? The guy spent a lot of money on these openings. Says the Gemara, no, don't bring me a raya from this case. The openings are terrible openings. The shimai openings. What does that mean? The machlokes, what exactly means? One says, oy vey, I don't have the picture here. Starting already. I know I printed it. One says it doesn't have, oh, it is here. I just didn't, it looked weird from the side. Sorry. It's the top one and I'm going weiter. So if I didn't, maybe you could see it. You see it goes in and out.
It'd be like a gazebo.
A gazebo, yeah, good. Yeah, that's a good one. A gazebo, thanks. Gazebo, and that's how they make them with a lot of poles. You're right. Gazebo is a good one. So this goes in, out, in, out. In other words, you remove the brick, says Rashi. You would think, like just reading the Gemara, you think it doesn't have a jam. That's not what it means, says Rashi. It means it's a terrible entryway. It looks bad, it is bad. You see what's going on here? That's what we're talking about. So that's why this Surah HaPesach doesn't work. The other one says, let's Tikra. I like the picture in Rashi better than all the pictures I found. Maybe the other ones are better in Kol Shon. But if you look at Rashi, it looks like an H in Rashi because it says the word Pesach. Basically, it doesn't have a header. There's no header on top of the jam. So that's a terrible Pesach. Now, we're talking about a Pesach that has a Tzuras HaPesach. It looks like a door. If it just has two pieces of wood like this, that's nothing. It's not an H. It just says Pesach over there. So I'm saying it's just two pieces of wood. What are you saying, Eli? Lechi? What lechi? I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. You're talking to those guys, not to me.
A lechi. If it just has this door this size, then it's a lechi.
Two lechi, yeah. Two lechi.
There's two lechi.
Yeah, but it's not a lechi. No. It's a gap in the wall. It's not that he came and he put a piece of wood by the opening. We're talking about a place that has, we're talking about a gazebo, right? Let's go back to gazebo. It's a gazebo. So why is this gazebo so bad? Because the gazebo goes like this. Or it's a gazebo that doesn't have a roof. It's just a gazebo with a bunch of, so they're not lechis. Lechi means I have a nice opening, I take a broom and I put it on the side, I stick it to the side and everybody says, oh, what's going on here? There's a nice brick wall and all there's a piece of wood. That's a lechi. Over here the whole thing is one material, it's open, it just doesn't have the top. It's different than a lechi. So it's a terrible door opening. So now the Gemara goes into a cheshbon, which is going to take us to Amud Beis until we get to the proof. Vav, we'll get there. You don't even have to hold cup. It's a shiur. You don't have to do anything. You just auto. I'm going to go in cruise control. When we get there, I'll wake you up. I'll tell you this is the right. Vav Rabbi Yochanan Savar L'Lad Rav. Rabbi Yochanan also holds that at Tzuras HaPesach, a door jam doesn't work for what do you call it? When it's parutz meruba alignment. When it's more open than closed. Where do we see this? It says Gemara Omer Rav and Baravada Omer Yitzchok. Ma'ase ba'adam. Ooh, geschmack. We're finally getting to Agadta. There's a story. Ba'adam echad mebikas beis chorson. Shenatz. I'm kidding. There's no Agadta. It's just a story. Shenatz arba kundesim ba'arba pinois hasada. U'madach zmar aleim. He takes 4 poles and he puts his grapevine on it, and he stretched it out. So now the grapevine acts as some sort of demarcation of a rishus. Now he's making a Tzuras HaPesach, 2 beams, and instead of putting a beam on top, a header, he takes a vine and puts it on top. Here, picture. Beautiful picture. All 4 he made a chuppah made out of grapes. Now if you look, if we're already holding up the picture, so take a look underneath the chuppah. He continued to plant all his grapes underneath. But if you look over here, where is it? This one, right over here. See this area over here? If you look closely, he's trying to plant vegetables over there. And that's the question, could he plant over there because it's klei hakerem? You're not allowed to plant vegetables next to your vines. However, over here, he built a wall. Halachically has a wall, a Tzuras HaPesach wall. So now perhaps he could plant on the other side. Shalom Aleichem Avi, I missed you terribly yesterday. It was dead, and I'm hoping you're going to wake me up here. This is not, like, I think the whole shir, not a word. There's a little argument, something. And Shalom Aleichem Reb Ephraim Sanzer. I don't recognize you, Shalom Aleichem. How you doing? So, Zok the Gemara. So Chacham say, look, it's beautiful. Now you're allowed to plant on the other side. Comes Rish Lakish and says, this same halacha that we say by Klayim, same halacha by Shabbos. So if I make a Tzuras HaPesach like that, and I put some vines, now I have a Rishus for Shabbos. Now we have to understand what's the case. Is it more than 10 amas, less than 10 amas? Let's prove it. Rabbi Yochanan Omar, L'Klayim Yitir Loi, L'in Shabbos Lo Yitir Loi. So I just want to show you real quickly my little chart I made here. Rabbi Yochanan says, so you be familiar with this chart for a second. It's not that difficult, but I just made a chart. Rabbi Yochanan says, for Shabbos no, for Klayim yes. Rish Lakish says, for Klayim and Shabbos yes. Okay, that's the first chart. Says the Gemara, oh, so what's Menat Tzad? Menat Tzad, I took this Mesifta picture, I took the luxury of putting some funny colors on top. So you see the Tzad. You see how the red and the blue pops up on top? That's Tzad, meaning that it's not completely on top. The Zmaira, the vines, are somewhere in the middle of the doorpost. They're not a nice doorpost. This is terrible news. Because the doorpost, the jam is completely on top, not in the center, not in the middle, not lower down. If you're talking about it's a little bit lower down. Now it can't be a regular Tzuras HaPesach because the Tzuras HaPesach works. We know it works in Shabbos. That's the first mission in Eruvin. Tzuras HaPesach works. So why would he say that it doesn't work? What's so bad about this Zmaira thing? Why do you say that on Shabbos, according to Rabbi Yochanan, it's no good? Why not? It's a beautiful Tzuras HaPesach. So let's try to figure this out. Perhaps because it's not a true Tzuras HaPesach, it's a little lower down. If it's a little lower down, then who says it's good? Nobody says it's good at this point in the Gemara. It's lower down from the top. It's terrible. So where's the machlokes? El al gabam. So you have to say that the Tzuras HaPesach is perfect. It's on top. Ubemai. So what is the machlokes? If it's only up to 10 amos, everybody agrees that up to 10 amos Tzuras HaPesach works. So you see, Rabbi Yochanan says in the case that it's more than 10 amos, a Tzuras HaPesach doesn't work, and that's a raya like that Rabbi Yochanan holds like Rav. We're not there yet. No, let's go back to the first. It's talking about that it's only 10 amas. But the Tzuras HaPesach is not a good one because the top header is a little lower than the posts. And the Rav Chisda kamifli. And the machlokes is in Rav Chisda. Now what? Rav Lakish doesn't hold the Rav Chisda at all. And he says that Minat Tzad is always okay. Chlayim Shabbos. And Rabbi Yochanan? Rabbi Yochanan, he holds like Rav Chisda when it comes to Shabbos, not when it comes to Klayim. In other words, even Rav Chisda might hold that when it comes to Klayim, Matzad, when it's lower down, it's not a true Tzuras HaPesach, is okay. When it comes to Hilchos Shabbos, Rav Chisda says you need a true Tzuras HaPesach. The top header has to be on the top of the post. Says the Gemara, "V'ramid Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan, v'ramid Rish Lakish, Rish Lakish." We have a little bit of a problem because this doesn't fit in to the next thing. Rish Lakish mishum Rabbi Yehuda b'Rabbi Chanina. So Rish Lakish says in the name of Rabbi Yehuda b'Rabbi Chanina. He's saying over Rabbi Yehuda. We have to remember that name. Now we're turning. Who's sponsoring today? Rabbi Isai, Yosef. I don't know. So if I don't know, I'm just going to say it's sponsored by Shiur Greenfield. You sent me something, Yosef?
Tomorrow for the first year, for the...
He still gets, okay, it's a Chodesh Molei, Chaser, Halacha, we have to go back. Fine. So today, turning of the Daf is sponsored by Shiur Greenfield from Green Star Electrical Contracting. Tomorrow is a surprise. They didn't want to tell me what it is, some surprise. Great. It's my brother or something. Zog the Gemara. So by the way, just to answer your going back, the reason why I asked that riddle, what other Masechta has the same name as Eruvin? Klayim. Klayim, the Targum says in Klayim, Eruvin. It means a mixture. Over here, Eruvin means something else. But, so, I'm just saying, because we're learning the halacha of Klayim with Eruvin, it's not the first time in the Masechta that we brought down Klayim. Anyway, it says the Gemara, Peyo muteres li Klayim avaloi l'Shabbos. What's Peyo? We're going to use this later for another case. This is the Kronim, but this is the idea. You take two posts and you put a vine across the two posts. So muteres li Klayim avaloi l'Shabbos. So this doesn't work for Shabbos. Rabbi Yochanan Omar. So Rish Lakish says. Now check this out. If you go back to this chart, what do we have? Rabbi Yochanan says that a Tzuras HaPesach doesn't work for Shabbos. It does work for Klein. Rish Lakish says it works in both cases. All of a sudden, over here, Rish Lakish says it doesn't work. It works for Klein. Check, Klein. But all of a sudden, over here, he says, no, it doesn't work for Shabbos. That's a problem because it doesn't fit with this check. Over here, he said it's okay, and over here, he says it's not okay. You see what's going on here? Basically, Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish take it down one step. They make it worse. Only one step, though. Not completely reverse. Peya mutaris linyan Klein. Says Rish Lakish in the name of his Rebbe that this Tzuras HaPesach works for Klein, but not for Shabbos. Rabbi Yochanan Omar, ki mechitzas Shabbos deloi, kach mechitzas leklayim deloi. In other words, Tzuras HaPesach never works. So look again, Rabbi Yochanan says two X's, it doesn't work, not for Klein, not for Shabbos, Tzuras HaPesach. And in the beginning he said, it does work for Klein. So we got a little bit of a problem. Rish Lakish says, it always works for Klein and for Shabbos, and now he's saying, it only works for Klein and not for Shabbos. Rabbi Yochanan Omar, ki mechitzas Shabbos deloi, kach mechitzas leklayim deloi. Says the Gemara, Bishlam the Rish Lakish, the Rish Lakish lekashio. I can tell you this is not a kasha. Why? Hadidei, hadid Rabbi. The last words in Daf Aleph, Amud Aleph, says, Rabbi Yehuda, who was it? Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Chanina. So he's saying over in his name. It's Rebbe. Right now it's his Rebbe. He's saying over in his name. But he himself doesn't hold like his Rebbe. So it's not a kasha, it's not a stira. Hadidei, hadid Rabbi. Elo, the Rabbi Yochanan kasha, but Rabbi Yochanan sort of contradicts himself. Now, so here comes the raya, the final raya, what the Gemara wanted to say, that Rabbi Yochanan holds like Rav Bishleima Hasam. When you're talking about the four posts, the chuppah, Hasam al Gabam, so the vines are on top, you have a nice Tzuras HaPesach. Chacham in Atzad. The what? That more than 10 amos doesn't work on Shabbos, but it would work on Klein. So you see that Rabbi Yochanan holds that more than 10 amos at Tzuras HaPesach does not work. But if you're going to say it's the same exact case, we have a big problem. It's a contradiction. Says the Gemara, no. We'll say it is the same case. But in the same case, there's different types of cases. They're both lower than the top of the pole. The horizontal is lower than the top of the vertical beam. Hasam be'eser, hacha yosim be'eser. Okay, I'll make another nafkamina. So it's not a raya that he holds like Rav. It's just two different cases. One is that's very wide. If it's very wide, more than 10, it doesn't work. And if it's less than 10, it does work. And how do you know to make that distinction? Oh, here it's starting to warm up Tagata. Rabbi Yeshua went to learn by Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri Torah. Even though Rabbi Yeshua was a big professional when it came to Klayim, and he asked him a question in Klayim. He found Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri sitting between the trees. I love this. He didn't just ask him, hey Rabbi, what's the halacha if I pull a string from here to here? He went and took it and did it, and he showed it to him. You see, this whole idea of charts and then diagrams is not a new concept. He physically showed him and said, I want you to tell me this exact case. I took a vine, you see, I took a vine, here it is. It's already spread out. Tell me what the halacha is. Umatach zmayra mi'ilan lilan. I think it's a very interesting thing. V'amaloi, Rebbe, can I plant on both sides of this vine? Is this vine a halachic mechitza where I can plant on both sides of it? So he makes the distinction. The nafkamina between 10 amos and more than 10 amos. More than 10 amos is not a good wall. It's not a good. So the pesach doesn't work. More than 10 amos. What's the case? If the zmayr was on top of the kundis in Yosem Eser Asur, why is more than 10 Asur? So that's this case right over here. Hadikranim meaning they're pointy at the end. So he pushed these guys into the ground, and he pulled the zmayr, he pulled the vine from side to side. And then what does it say? Even if it's more than 10 amas, it's okay. So why you tell me? So, you must go back and say that it's not like this picture, that it's on top, but rather it's lower down over here. He did it like this. Oh, like this. In that case, that it's lower down than the top, if it's within 10 amas, it's okay. A little bit more than 10 amas, it's asur, and that's how we'll explain the stira and the brises, and we don't have a raya according to this that Rabbi Yochanan holds like Rav Shmamino. We learned Rav Chizda says if you lower the tzur sapezach to below the top of the post, nothing. Rav Chizda, another halacha. Tzur sapezach shomru tzirish te bria kedei lahamid bodeles. You don't have to have a door on the tzur sapezach, but it has to be strong enough that you could put a door. We had this halacha the other day. The concept of kol haroya lebila ein bila ma'keves boy. Forgot where we had the halacha. We had it that, but the idea that it has to be roi for, what was it again? Anybody remember? Don't remember anymore. We just had it a few daf ago. That it has to be, you don't have to do, the door doesn't have to be closed. Very partial. The door doesn't have to be closed. He said, it has to be able to close, what?
It doesn't have to be locked.
It's not, the word is noel, but it means close, open and close. So we said if there's a big pile of dirt, then you can't close it. So that's where Rav Nachman came along. He said, move the dirt. But you don't have to close it. Right, same thing here. You don't have to put a physical door on it, but it has to be solid enough that it could hold the door if you put a door. What kind of door? What, a pladelet? Says the Gemara, Vafilu del shekashin, one made out of straw. Okay. You need a hinge, not just maheker tzir. Rav Avio Avkasa. Who says this halacha? Rav Avio. Here's a picture from the Mesifta. This blue guy right over here. Again, I made it blue because I like blue more than yellow. But the idea is that there's some sort, in those days, that's how the hinge worked. You find these hinges sometimes in hotels or whatever. But it has to have some sort of hinge. Ashkechinu Rav Achabared Rav Avia. So again, here is the son of Rav Avia. Rav Avia said a second ago that you need a hinge. Comes the son along and he starts asking questions. He's doubting his father. He's Ashkechinu Rav Avia, not doubting, but he wants to know, does anybody hold like my dad? He bumped into Talmidei Rav Ashi. The Talmidei Rav Ashi. Amar mar midi b'tzuras haPesach. No, he's fishing for information. Did your Rebbe Rav Ashi say anything in Tzuras haPesach? Did he just say, oh, it's okay? Or did he add? It has to be able to hold the door, something? Nothing, zero. So he's pretty dejected because Rav Ashi didn't say like his dad. Tana, Tzuras haPesach she'amru konu mikan v'konu mikan v'konu al gabeim. How do you do it Tzuras haPesach? 2 vertical beams and 1 horizontal on top. It looks like a door, like a jam. As the Gemara, tzrichim liga or tzrichim liga? Does the top part, the top header, does it have to touch the jambs? Rav Nachman Omar, ein tzrichim liga, and you see that's the halacha. You don't need it, it doesn't need to touch. Rav Sheshes Omar tzrichim liga, it does need to touch. Says the Gemara, Maisa. Also Rav Nachman v'avad uvda bereish gelusa kishmaite. I'm still trying to picture how this whole thing worked. There's a person named the Rosh Golos. He's in charge of Klal Yisrael, almost like a king. He had a jail cell in his backyard. His guys used to run around. Sometimes the Gemara says they weren't the best people. They would beat up people for no reason. They would squeeze people for money, whatever. He was a chashuv person. He was a Rosh Golos. He was in charge of everybody. Comes Rav Nachman, but you see in other Gemaras that they used to eat in his house. He had like a massive dining room. It was like a palace. So comes Rav Nachman, and Gedolim coming in and out of this place. I'm trying to picture exactly. I don't know. I have to ask my chavrusa more how it worked. I go upon him. He's the Rosh Golos. Comes Rav Nachman along, and he starts doing stuff in his backyard. He starts making Tzuras haPesach. We need to be able to walk here, do things on Shabbos. He starts making Tzuras haPesach. But the top of the Tzuras haPesach is not touching the poles. Rav Nachman holds it doesn't need a touch. So he does one high up, 15 feet is the header, but the poles on the side are only 10 feet, let's say. Rav Sheshes pulls up. He's also walking around the Rish Golus' property. He says, what is going on here? It's a halachically incorrect, this Tzuras HaPesach, people might carry here. He tells Rav Gada, Zil Shloif Shadinu, go chop it all down, throw it into the garbage. You don't do something like that in the Rish Golus' house, because he has cops everywhere. Ozal Shalof Shadinu. So he starts knocking down. So of course, security forces catch him in action. Chavshu, they see him on the CC cameras. They take him, they throw him in the jail. Also, Rav Sheshes come above it. Rav Sheshes goes to the jail. Omar le Goda Pukta. So he says, he calls out his name, Goda. Rab Goda, Puk, come out, come. Navak Vasa. So he comes out. What's pshat? Obviously, they realized that Rav Gada didn't do it on his own. He didn't come to destroy the Rish Golus' property. Rav Sheshes told him to do it, so he did it. Ashkech Rav Sheshes, the Rabbi Rav Shmuel. Listen to this Maisa. Rav Sheshes bumps into Rabbi Rav Shmuel. Omalei, Tani Mar Mida b'Tzuras HaPesach. Do you know any halachas in Tzuras HaPesach? Did you hear anything from your Rebbe? Omalei, yes. Tonino Kippah. Rav Meir Mechai Mezuzah v'Chacham Paitrim. We learned this a couple times in Masechet Shabbos. The idea of chaykikim, and it emanates from this Gemara here, this idea of mezuzah. So you have a mezuzah in an archway, a rounded archway. So here's the halacha. If you look closely over here, I added red here. So you have 10 tfachim high and 4 tfachim wide. That's what a doorway needs to be in order to be chayav mezuzah. The problem is, this might be confusing, this yellow line. This is actually a field in the background. They try to do a field, it almost looks like there's a line through the door. But what about this area over here? Says the Gemara is not a problem, because look what's going on here. You see this red line? This red line acts as the header, and although this is not attached to this, they are 4 tfachim away, let's say, we could lower it, they're attached. So what do you see? That the header doesn't need to touch the walls. That's the Gemara's right from here. That if it's 10 tfachim wide, 10 tfachim high, but at a 4 tfachim width, you have a perfect doorway over here. If you put your header here, you'd be chayv b'mezuzah. So just because the header is up here, it doesn't ruin it, says the Gemara. But if you have a case where you don't have 3 on the bottom, on an angle before it reaches 3, this is bad news. You cannot put a mezuzah here. Or you have 3 tfachim by 4 tfachim. It is 4 wide, but it's very low, very short, less than 10 tfachim short. No mezuzah. Kipligi, so machlokes is leiklom. Kipligi biyesh b'regel shloisha ugvoy asara. But in that in-between case, it is 3 tfachim high, and you have 10 tfachim, but it starts going on an angle from 3 and up. Ve'rechav arba. So here's the case. Here's the machlokes. You have 3 tfachim height with 4 tfachim width, and then it starts going on an angle and you start losing your width. Over here is the famous shaila, and this is the sugya. Remeir holds chaykikim. I'll remind you that no, I'm asking me, how come you don't say chaykikim? In another case, I forgot what it was, some other case of anytime you have opening, and the answer is because over here, if you look closely, over here you have the 4 tfachim necessary and the 10 tfachim necessary. You just don't have it on the whole area. So then I could carve out. I make an imaginary carving with this yellow line over here. I don't know if you can see it properly, but that's when you do chayikim according to Remeir. Once you have dimensions within what you're doing, they're just not spread out everywhere. So then you continue to carve out halachically the rest to be mashlim those dimensions that you have already. Remeir sav chayikim la'ashlim, Rabban and Star ve'chayikim la'ashlim. Amalei yimishkachas luhu. So Rav Sheshes was defeated, basically. Because over here it says this exact halacha that I could use, going back to the first case, where is it? Real quickly, here, this case. you have 10 tefachim over here, and you have a header over here, but the header is not touching the side post. It's not touching these jams. It's very distant. Nevertheless, everybody agrees Yechai b'mezuzah because it's as if the header is over here. So what do you see? The header doesn't need to touch the post. And Rav Sheshes tells Rav Gada, chop everything down, and he chopped all the stuff down. And can you imagine? He made a mistake in halacha. He realized he made a mistake. So what does he say? And this is very interesting. If you find those people over there, don't tell the people in Rish Galusa's house that I made a mistake. Don't tell them that you proved me wrong. Rather, wait until I get to them and I tell them I made a mistake. I don't want to be embarrassed that they caught me with a brice against me. I'll take care of it myself. Obviously, he's not going to lie. He's not going to pretend that there's halacha that there isn't when he made a mistake. He'll tell, but he wants to be the one to say, you know what? I realized I made a mistake in Shema Yisrael. Have a wonderful day. Unfortunately, I want to get weiter, but tomorrow is a very, very short daf, it looks like. Okay. Shiur Malois.
Kim khas licha leman tivorei.
Kim khas licha leman tivorei.
Kim izana kibson afshiv lebrach chalti.
Izana kibson afshiv lebrach chalti.
Ashila nami shamim labarker, shamim labarker.
Ashila nami shamim labarker, shamim labarker.
Kim alay chesed v'arbei ma'ifdu.
Chayisol adino kim alay chesed v'arbei ma'ifdu.
Desisam kol v'nesao.
Desisam kol v'nesao v'chini kol v'nesao v'nesao. Chayim debei b'yom v'sham. Chayim alayim. Simon tzor levachom. Pelo yom shuvah l'gula. Shto. הזמן קוראים לי מרומין. שכוייך, רבו ישי. You're all unmuted. Danny Fine, Shalom Aleichem. Shkoyach for the video. Shkoyach to your dad for the video. Moshe Hamburg. Oh, I see Reb Tzvi fine. I see him. Hi, Reb Tzvi. Tonight, you're off, Menachem. You're off. That's it. It was a great vacation. Yishkoyach.
Sound and picture much better today.
What? What about the picture?
I found both much better. I don't know what you're using, but it was much better.
Really? It's the same thing. That's weird. The pictures weren't clear? Oh! No, yesterday we had a problem with the YouTube camera. The lens wasn't clean. But you're talking about Zoom. I don't know. I can't explain it. I don't know.
Zoom was very good today.
Shkoyach. Maybe a better connection. Maybe that's what it was. By the way, we have a new camera already for Zoom. It's an amazing camera, but there's a couple things we need to figure out. The picture should be better quality starting tomorrow. We almost had it today. When you get corona, if you get corona and you already have antibodies, then you can go back to MDY. Then I'll go. I just don't want to get corona. Do you know, it's very interesting, I didn't know this. The yeshiva that's across the street from me, literally across the street, Berat Torah, Gil, one of the mashgichim is in critical condition from the Bachram had corona there, he got corona, he's in critical condition, he's on a thing. Rab Disseldorf, just so you know, he's so critical that they added a name to him. He's literally across the street from us.
I didn't know that.
No, that's it's. I read it on Yeshiva World News. That's how I knew. But I had to find out that somebody across the street from me got it and is in critical condition. They said they had an outbreak in the yeshiva, which I wasn't aware of, and that he got it.
Are they opening up yeshivas after Benazman?
Yeah.
They started already.
Sure. The Bachram already there.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. 2 weeks. Well, I know guys, I know a Bachar that went yesterday to yeshiva, but Bachram are going already for a week.
I mean, they all spread out. One started 2 weeks ago, one started Sunday, one started yesterday.
Wow.
Lobbying from the States.
Very unfortunate. My son's yeshiva here in Israel, we just got a message yesterday that they don't have a bed for him. He was very much looking forward to starting today. He's actually going today, but he has to come home now. It's a big trip. And It's a big problem. They have to go into lockdown for 2 weeks, and they don't want to put him in lockdown. He doesn't want to go into lockdown when he doesn't have to. So it's a big problem. Yeah.
But the guys coming in from out of the USA, they have to go into lockdown.
Yeah. That's exactly what happened. It's an American yeshiva. It's not for Israelis. So it's fishers. All the guys that are coming in have to be in lockdown, and they don't have room for him in a lockdown. And he doesn't want to be in a lockdown. At the same time, it's the guys that he's supposed to get to know, and he's waiting for these guys to come. So he's gonna go to yeshiva. Just it's gonna be very difficult for him to travel every day. I told him take a taxi. Oh, taxi! I just said taxi. Eli Shapiro. Yeah.
Can you check the
That's
settings
right.
that people can unmute themselves?
I did that. Everybody's unmuted.
Oh, but you have to allow us to unmute yourself so we can remute if we don't want to hear the background.
Yeah.
I did it again. I don't know. Is it working?
Maybe back here.
Mendy, you heard what I said in the beginning of this year about the guy screaming Elul? Your best buddy from Hebron. Elul!
I saw that video of somebody making fun of it.
Making fun?
I don't know, like there's a guy without a yarmulke screaming L.
Yeah, it's the whole thing in Eretz Yisrael and yeshivas in general. Scream Elul. But he's serious, this guy.